Hey everyone, Victor here again with eCoffee with experts, and the expert that we have today comes from the other side of the world, at Hong Kong at the moment, and we have Velizara Tellalyan. How are you doing, Velizara?
Hi, Victor. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing super fine, thank you for asking. Velizara is a marketing consultant based in Hong Kong, as I just mentioned, but she has experience from all over the world, has been working with marketing for a while, and is here to let us know about what are the things going on the other side. We are so much focused here, especially on the channel with the Western market, talking to people from the UK, Spain, United States, that it's interesting to see different tactics, different approaches. They usually don't work here, but work very well over there. Elizara, this, as you already know, is a casual conversation about who you are, the things you've done. So, in order for us to start, please take the microphone out of my hand. Let us know who you are. How did you come to Hong Kong? We know, at least I know, that you are working in house. Now you are a full time consultant. Whatever you can share, people are going to love you, I'm sure.
Thank you, Victor. So, thank you for the quick presentation to detail a little bit more about who I am. My name is Velizara. I'm digital marketing consultant now based in Hong Kong, but living in China for 10 years now. I've started my digital marketing journey 12 years ago
Wow.
in France. Where I worked both in-house and shortly as in digital marketing agencies.
Okay.
But I've always been curious about the world. Originally I'm not from France, I'm Bulgarian, and I decided to travel more, and that's how my job actually brought me to China, Shanghai. I worked in Shanghai in house for different companies looking to develop their digital acquisition abroad. But over the years, as well as I said, for 10 years, I've grasped more and more Chinese projects, and today as a full-time online marketing consultant I help companies in Europe and APAC to develop multi-channel acquisition strategies and bridge the gap between European or Western and Chinese market. So I help clients in SEO, PPC and social media across these markets and different languages.
And how does it work to prepare the strategies, the approaches for different markets, different languages, and the same customer and product? Because we know, for example, that WeChat, when we talk about China as a market, is one of the, it's not one of the, is the biggest app that China uses, right?
Yeah.
It's a super app, basically. Naturally, most of the campaigns we're talking about usually evolve around email, for example. We have the newsletters, or revolve around any social media channel and everything else. So,
Of course.
differentiating us from Hong Kong, from the Asian market, how does it work for you when you started creating these channels, creating these processes for your customers?
Of course, you should always start about the company goals and ambitions. Many smaller companies, SMBs that want to attack the Chinese market would start small, and that's what we also always recommend. We will start by localizing the content of their Western website into Mandarin Chinese.
Hmm.
Well, content localization is much more than mere translation.
Yeah,
We will consider natural language. We would consider cultural
differences, yes.
nuances, differences. I always recommend clients to work with native speakers, no matter if we are localizing in Mandarin Chinese or Cantonese for the Hong Kong market. So basically, you have two markets, two languages. As I said, start with company goals. Think of where is the audience. Baidu and WeChat are very different. What user wants on these apps is very different. On Baidu, similar to Google, users would go to search for more in-depth information. We see that queries are very long tail queries, entire questions.
Okay.
So in SEO, we would create quality content, of course, always localized in Mandarin Chinese, but we will try to answer direct questions that we identify through keyword research. However, WeChat, content on WeChat is a bit different because, as you mentioned, this is a super app when people are not just browsing companies' pages, they are mainly there to speak with their peers, to make payments, and content is very short, more interactive, a lot of visuals, a lot of videos, and we will address, as I said, the different needs, user needs on the different platforms.
Okay. Okay.
I think that in general, when we speak about Chinese market, a big part of my work is explaining clients the biggest difference between Chinese and Western digital marketing. For example, in China, we have a lot of regulatory compliance
Mm-hmm.
consider. Sometimes the clients who don't have a company in China yet don't realize that you are required to have an ICP license or a special license to host a website in mainland China to receive a .cn domain name.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the biggest, I would say, difficulty small SMBs find while working on the Chinese market.
Mm-hmm.
Then adapting content to the different platforms. Then there is all this payment system, payment gateways integration
Yes.
to consider, completely different than Western markets. Even PayPal won't work. And this is more a consideration about marketers like me. We should consider data and analytics tools. The biggest digital marketing tools and digital marketing suites, SEMrush,
Mm-hmm.
Ahrefs, and so on, they actually don't provide data about Baidu.
I didn't know that.
Well, Baidu has its own index, its
Mm-hmm.
own keyword data, and few SEO platforms are integrated with Baidu's proprietary data.
Okay. I see. Well, that's actually interesting. Let's expand this. How do you optimize then? If you can quickly run into it, but how do you optimize any campaigns over in Baidu? How is the entire process?
There are specifically platforms for SEO that are developed for the Chinese market.
I see. I see.
From where I would get Baidu keyword data, keyword volume data. As I mentioned, the most frequently asked question and searches on Baidu. On the same side, for WeChat has an insights platform.
Okay.
Similar. It's a little bit like Facebook Business Manager, but much more
Makes sense.
simplified. And there are even third-party platforms today who integrate social media accounts and do social media listening, competitor analysis for Chinese market. What I meant to say is not that the data is not there, but that we don't find it on the usual places and on the biggest data platforms in our field.
I see. I remember everything that you said is great, really, because first of all, you were mentioning the difficulties in not only translating from English to Mandarin, for example, but also how do you say localization,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Back in Brazil, we say tropicalization, right?
Uh-huh.
Because it's a tropical country, so we say whenever a company from abroad comes, they have to tropicalize their product. Usually happens in the car industry. You have, I don't know, you have the Peugeot 208, which is super sold in Europe. Back in Brazil, it needs a different structure because the roads there are worse than the European roads. So it's not about only bringing the product, but you have to change it to make it work. So I do understand what you mean by not only translating, but making sure that it's gonna resonate with the reader in China, right?
Yes, absolutely. Considering their cultural, we have to tailor the message to connect with the audience authentically. So we're looking for authenticity in our messaging. And speaking of that, I actually have an anecdote from many years ago. I
Mm.
was consulting a Dutch company that was producing indoor kids play corners. It was a nightmare to identify how in Mandarin Chinese we will call their product. And of course, they had a company in China, they had production in China. I did a few exchanges with people, Chinese native Chinese people working in the company, and everyone came with a different word, similar but different,
I see.
about what exactly their product should be called. So I had, instead of 2, 3 seeded keywords that usually you'd start your keyword research
Mm-hmm.
English, in French, in
Mm-hmm.
Bulgarian, my mother tongue. In Chinese, I started with 7, 8 keywords because everyone would say, would call their product in a different way.
I'm really sorry for coming back to Brazil, but I'm laughing off the similarities here. When I was working with social listening and we had, I don't know, I really can't come to an example right now, but let's pretend we have a company who wanted to read about themselves in the social listening platform, but the Brazilian people had 10 different ways to call that company.
Okay, yes,
You
very
know,
similar, exactly the
I
same
think
stuff.
this is what you're saying, right?
Exactly,
It's
yeah. And they're
even,
all correct. I mean, they're all
yes,
correct ways
but
to say it. They're just languages have their specificities, and
they do.
again, in Mandarin is very important. I found it very important to work with native speakers.
How did you learn Mandarin? And how would you advise people to start learning today if they want to?
I made a big mistake in the beginning when I
Mm.
arrived in China by being intimidated. So I would say for a year and a half, I was working for an international company targeting international and Chinese market, but I was not curious about language because it looked, and that's what a lot of foreigners coming to work and live in China experience. You just see Chinese characters and you think, oh, that's impossible. So, first advice I would give to every new beginner Chinese learner is don't be intimidated, don't be
Yeah.
scared. It's actually very logical language, very simple logical language, doesn't have grammar. Just start, be curious, start from somewhere. And of course, as any language, progress is slow. For me, working full time and studying Chinese on the side, and in the past years developing my consultancy was very, very difficult. So I wouldn't say that I progressed very fast. But
Yeah,
just,
language is tough. The language barrier is the first thing that comes to mind whenever we move, right? I, for
yeah,
example, moved to Portugal because I had none, which isn't true because well, there are a lot of differences between Brazilian Portuguese and Portugal's Portuguese, just like British and American English, right?
yeah,
So
of course.
it is, I think, at the end of the day, kind of a different language. And now that we're delving into, I mean, we talked about the Chinese market, and now we're delving into how you learn Mandarin. Let's talk more about yourself, right? The consultancy firm that you open, the things that you do right now. If anybody who's watching this wanna send you a message, how could you help them back?
Again, with my experience on both Western and Chinese markets, I think I can be instrumental in finding synergies between the campaigns that
Hmm.
companies been managing or are still working on Western audiences, and adapting this messaging for the Chinese market. I think most of my clients would approach me for multi-channel strategies and consulting because indeed through my professional experience in the past and now freelance projects, I do have experience on SEO, pay-per-click, social media, no matter if it's Meta or WeChat. So I would say I have a holistic overview of how different digital acquisition channels work together to bring your customer to the final conversion. And I usually work on the full conversion channel with by activating different campaigns.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I like about consultancy is that every client is different and each client has their own challenge. And my job is as a digital marketing consultant, especially in China now, is to address these unique challenges, no matter if it's foreign companies, Western companies looking to develop the Chinese market or Chinese companies looking to expand abroad.
Hmm.
I love just addressing different business challenges and building a tailor-made strategy for the specific company goals, objectives, and budgets, because it's always in marketing. Often it's also a
Yeah.
question of budget.
And talking about budget, how currently do you prioritize where most of the budget goes? And I mean that by, let's pretend I'm a European company wanting to go to China, right? And I have $10,000 amount to spend, and we know that we should spend on by doing WeChat, as we already talked about. Of course, each company and product has its own decisions and peculiarities, right? But is there a general rule that works, a formula maybe, or no, it is indeed a case by case scenario?
In general, I do have, when I do budget allocation, I have a very ROE approach, ROI mindset.
Great.
So I always focus on performance. In my corporate roles, I've been really working on digital acquisition, looking at KPIs, collecting data and analyzing ROAS, CPL, conversion rate. And once you have campaigns going and once you've collected this historical data, it is more or less, it's not that challenging to prioritize channels that bring the highest ROI, the best performance, the lowest CPL, and so on. But the difficulty is always when you develop new channels and
Yeah.
when you first start. And that's in here that we would speak about general audience habits and best practices on different. Unfortunately, both Baidu and WeChat required a lot of work and long-term investment to see growth.
Okay.
Organic growth on Baidu is slow, and what many companies don't realize is also that followers grow on WeChat is slow, and it's
Mhm.
difficult to gain followers. It's even easier to lose them. We would allocate budgets to cover at least a few channels at a time.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, once you have campaigns rolling, you start being aware of channel limitations and
Sure.
reach. Starting in WeChat is difficult because again, followers growth is slow. So allocating more budget in WeChat content doesn't bring at least followers that fast.
I see.
And some channels have limited scalability. That's also the case with Bing in China. I mean, it's accessible in mainland China, but very few users, right?
I
So
think I think very few users use Bing over around the
absolutely.
world. You know, around the world. I don't think a lot of people are there.
Let's see. Yeah, we don't see Copilot changing things much, but we are living. I think we are starting a year when we will see shifting behaviors.
I agree.
Not say Bing will be the first search engine, but
Yeah.
I mention it because it's sometimes a search engine that I discuss
No,
with.
it is important. Yes. Even though not a lot of people do use it, there are people using it nonetheless. However, for example, yesterday I was formatting a Windows PC and I removed Copilot entirely out of it. But then you
Okay.
might ask, hey, Victor, do you hate AI? No, I love AI. I don't like Copilot. I think right now, not the best, but this is not a AI conversation. Could be, I could even ask in terms of AI, how's it going? In terms of automation, how is it going? It is a hot topic nowadays. Usually they're both coming together. What else can you say about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I discussed a lot about AI driven search and AI tools
Yep.
with my clients. More at the moment, we speak more and more about AI driven search with companies that are developing now the Western market.
Hmm.
Um, but I can say that everyone in the mainland as well is adapting AI-powered tools for content creation, ideation, to streamline tasks. And let's see how it goes, how AI evolve, how we user behavior
Yeah.
evolve around AI search and voice search also. Something I discuss a lot about clients. Last few months there have been a lot of interesting articles about increase in market share of voice search. So yeah, I think 2025 would be interesting year shaped by this advancement in this
Yeah.
area.
I'm looking forward as well. Any favorite tech that you have right now? Any favorite tool, software provider, app?
I last year I did try some content creation platforms with the AI-driven content creation platform, but starting from a few months ago, I went back to ChatGPT and creating my own GPTs.
Creating my own GPT. That's what I do as well.
Yeah.
I think it's the best recommendation everybody gives, right? You have to. I even am seeing people on LinkedIn saying that are prompt masters,
Uh,
and it can
yeah, yeah.
become a role in the future.
That was already last year. We were talking about prompting as a part-time job in some positions and fields, not only in digital marketing.
No,
So
not only that. No, I agree.
yeah.
I agree. As long as you prompt well, you can change the world, right? The issue, however, is sometimes I feel like ChatGPT still hallucinates and doesn't understand the prompt because.
That's where it's the importance of prompting and the so-called chain of thought prompting,
Mhm.
so that you don't lead the algorithm with your initial prompt, but you let the algorithm unveil their thought by itself, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It makes sense. I wanted to close this episode here talking about personal branding, which I know is something that you're also focusing on. You have your own blog, right?
Yeah, my own blog started many, many years ago, actually. At that time, personal brand was not really a popular
It is a
expression.
new term. It is a
Yeah.
new thing, right? Everybody wants personal branding. I know this.
And
Uh,
it's more in the last years that I realized the importance
the
of having
importance.
a personal brand as an independent consultant. And it is difficult, of course. It requires a lot of dedication, time.
Hmm.
I personally try to focus on differentiate myself with experience on both Western and Chinese market, and I always try to be more authentic, no matter if it's about building my brand or more like meeting with customers, potential clients. Sorry, try to build trust through authenticities. For example, very often my main goals with the first clients meeting is to be transparent about what I believe is achievable within
Great.
the discussed budget and time frame. Then I also try to share as much as I can my case studies and results. It's all through my blog, LinkedIn, or income proposals. And to maintain and nurture strong client relationships,
Most important thing.
which is again goes through setting realistic goals, being open about what do you have experience in, what do you don't have experience in, and building a transparent process. In consulting, we see a lot that that's the problem because, for example, there is no official framework about what is an SEO audit. It can be a PowerPoint presentation of 10 slides, or
Hmm.
be a 100 pages Word document. It really
Yeah,
depends on the consultant or the agency that you work with as a client. So through my initial meetings with clients, in my proposals, I'm very also transparent about roadmaps, deliverables, so that clients know what to expect, what they will receive.
I see. I see. Well, and the thing about keeping them updated with realistic goals, especially nowadays, I think is one of the most important things that a consultant can do, that anybody can do, right? Because again, people are expecting results yesterday. When
Yeah.
we talk about SEO, we know it's not even to next week, right?
No.
Uh, I wish it was. I wish it was easier like that, but we know it's not. Well, Velizara, how I close my podcast, as you already know, have watching one of them, is I usually ask for life advice. Okay. And what I mean by that is we are starting 2025, new year, new hopes and expectations. Considering your career, considering again, the the consultancy firm that you started, the way you're working right now, what would you advise people who are watching us, no matter who they are, their age? It's, just something that you like to share.
Well, I already spoke about AI-driven search, about how where things are, I believe, will be going, and what we should focus in digital marketing in 2025. Maybe
Hmm.
one thing I didn't mention, because I don't want to repeat the same things, is that because again I've been working in this for 12 years, I am surprised to see that user journeys get increasingly fragmented today
Oh, yes.
and customers interact. We shouldn't, no matter what market are you working on, you as a small business owner shouldn't forget that customers interact with your brand across multiple touch points before converting. And I think I see some smaller companies making a mistake by neglecting smaller acquisition channels or
Agreed.
new emerging platforms because we all want to do SEO, PPC, and tap in with the largest audience. So something that I sometimes mention through my conversation with clients is to try to capture user attention on every stage of their journey, even on small platforms, even if you don't have a lot of followers on WeChat. Platform that you manage and you put a campaign on, it brings your customer closer to the conversion and helps you reach new audience, build awareness, and engage with users. To succeed today, businesses must really have adopted multi-channel mindset and leveraging platforms, small and big platforms, not as standalone channels, but as integrated parts of their digital acquisition strategy.
Makes sense. Well, makes a lot of sense. That was great. Elizara, thank you so much for all the amazing things you shared about the market, about the things that you are seeing over there. Again, I'm super new to everything in related to SEO. So the more I ask, the more I get, how can I say, scared is not the word, but like, wow, amazed at how much it can change
It's
depending on
evolved a lot.
market.
Yeah, no, it really
Yeah.
evolved. We started at a time when we were buying cheap links and prepping with time,
Yeah.
and we were optimizing meta tags with keywords. We were repeating the same keywords. Like it's really changing. Yeah.
It is. And it's gonna keep on changing, right? I think life is gonna keep
Yeah,
on
that's
changing
what
more
I
and
like
more.
about digital marketing in
Same.
general. It's really always evolving.
Always evolving, always evolving. Well, Velizara, thank you so much. It was amazing having you here. I hope you come back again in the future so that we can talk more about the things you're doing over there.
Thank
And
you so
for,
much, Victor. Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you again. You're great.
Really
You're a
nice
really nice
talking with
person.
you and learning more about the Brazilian
Yeah.
marketing challenges.
Yeah, I think I need eventually to bring either I bring a Brazilian to talk about Brazil or I bring another host so that I can talk about Brazil,
Uh-huh, yeah.
right? Yeah, because it's both options
Yeah,
that can help, that
what
can
you
happen.
shared was very curious. As we always see, every market has their specificities,
Yes,
particularities.
it's
It's
crazy, right? Imagine once we discover new planets and we're doing SEO for a different planet. It's gonna be crazy, bunks. Well, everybody else, thank you so much for viewing, for being
thank
here,
you,
for viewing
everyone.
our video. I'll be back eventually, as you always know. But right now, take care. Have a great week ahead. I'm gonna see each other next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.